Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Universal Journeys Radio with your hosts, Dr. Brenda L. Bates and Donnie Winter. Follow your heart, for only you know which path is right for you. Universal Journeys Radio is about how spirituality intersects with nearly every other aspect of our lives, even when we do not see it or realize it. Creativity and expression are our connections to the spiritual energy many seek to understand, and our identity is forged through this process. Universal Journey seeks to help illuminate the different intersections between creativity, spirituality, and identity in order to empower and enlighten. Tonight, our topic is autism as an identity, and we will be having a couple guests, my friends Tiffany and Cindy, who will be coming on the show and talking to us about their identity falling along the autistic spectrum. And if you want to call in and ask a question or participate in our discussion, our number is 347-850-8292. Hello, Brenda.
Hello.
How are you this evening?
Fabulous.
Oh,
Literally, I can say
fabulous.
fabulous. Yeah, I feel a lot better than I have in quite some time. I know.
I know you were kind of sick last week.
Yes. Yes, I was.
Yeah, there's been a bug going around.
I've gone somewhere. Come back. Pardon?
I said, yeah, there's been a bug going around. I had it a few weeks ago myself.
Some crazy stuff. I mean, my voice is still a little bit out of it, but other than that, I'm doing great.
Well, that's good. I am also. So I'm really excited about the show tonight because April is Autism Awareness Month, and there's so many different miscommunications, and there's a lot of lack of understanding regarding autism. And I can't wait for my friends to call in because they'll be able to shed some light on it, because a lot of people, they genuinely make a lot of assumptions, which isn't necessarily a good thing. I guess, Brenda, my question for you is, do you have any autistic people in your life?
Not in the family. But I do have some friends. My friend Deb DeRoos, actually the one who has Mystical Awakenings here, radio, her children, several of her children are autistic. And through that process, I've asked several questions about different aspects of autism. And from what I understand, there's quite a few. So you can't lump all of the autistic abilities into one category, which I hope that we will be able to discuss that tonight too.
Agreed. And the interesting thing is, like, there's a term that's been being used. I don't know how long it's been being used, but it's called the autistic spectrum. And autism is a spectrum. There are so many varying degrees of autism. And I think that gets lost in the whole idea that, you know, autism is a horrible condition, which is something that different elements in our society are perpetuating. I can honestly say that my friends Tiffany and Cindy, they are two of the most amazing people that I know. And the fact that they are autistic doesn't make them any less than anyone else. And it really upsets me when I go online and I see these stories and news reports about these autistic kids getting bullied and feeling suicidal. And in my mind, I mean, that brings me back to my own experiences being bullied as well. And I believe that no one should have to experience that. Even autistic individuals should not have to experience that.
I agree, because there are so many times when our artistic friends actually, they know some things like we don't know. I mean, you have mathematicians out there that are autistic, and they're awesome. I mean, I would be able to do some of the stuff that they've done. So, I mean, why pick on these guys? I mean, they're brilliant.
I completely agree with you. And I think the misinterpretation of autistic people usually centers on the fact that they express themselves differently and they understand social situations differently than the rest of us. But that doesn't make them bad people at all. But a lot of people assume that they have some sort of horrible problem that needs to be cured, when in fact many people in the autistic community are owning autism as an identity, which that's something that I think is important that we emphasize on tonight. And Deb, I know you're in the chat room, so if you have anything to contribute, feel free to type it in, and we will totally read it to our listeners too.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, and it looks like we have a caller, Brenda.
Okay. Can you bring him in on your end, or do I have to do it?
I totally will.
Okay, you got it.
Hello, caller. Welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. It's John. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Hey, John.
Yes, honey, it's John. It's Jonathan from
Sure, Jonathan.
True
Come on.
Paranormal. I was just, guys, I'm listening. That's all. I don't have a laptop, so I just wanted to call up and listen in and give you guys some love and support. That was all.
Okay, so you just want to listen then?
Yeah, if I could. I just wanted to listen and give you guys a little love tonight.
Okay, well, we appreciate it. Did you want me to put you back on listening mode then?
Yeah, if you would, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
And Jonathan, Deb says, we love you. And we do.
It looks like we have another caller, too. I believe this is Cindy. So let's bring Cindy on.
Sure.
Hello, Cindy. Welcome to the show.
Hi. How are you?
We are excellent. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm a bit stimmy. That's an autism term.
Positive stimmy, right?
Of course. Yes.
Okay. Excellent. So, we've been, if you've been listening, which I'm sure you have, you know that we've been discussing the autism community as a whole and how the community is accepting autism as an identity as opposed to those people out there who keep trying to imply that people who have autism, they have some sort of ailment that needs to be cured. So my question for you is, and I'm sure when Tiffany calls on here shortly that we will ask her that too, is do you believe that autism is a hindrance or a positive aspect to a person's identity, or both?
Well, I would say it's both because, I have the sensory issues and I'm not going to pretend that they don't exist and that they don't affect me because they do. But I think one of the great benefits is that it lets me just imagine things out of the box. People try to think that people with autism only think inside of a box and think literally, and that's not true. Because I don't. My choir director at church, he always goes on and on about how he's so amazed by my imagination all the time. So, because I'll tell him things like what the music makes me see in my head, because I see images and feel things and I experience things, and I'll describe them to him, and he'll just be like, "Wow, you have such an imagination." But at the same time, if the microphones start feeding back, I will grab my ears and double over in complete agony. And, if you barely brush by me and touch my skin, I might recoil like you burned me. Those are just some of those things. Mm-hmm. But having really acute ears is also kind of fun because, my ears are cute. But but having acute hearing means that sometimes I can hear things that other people don't. Mm-hmm. So, I can pick up on sounds that maybe other people might not notice. And I remember when we were having our new, digital phones installed, and the guy had to, use a machine to listen for tone to make sure the phone was working. I just picked it up and I'm like, I hear this, it's loud. What's your problem? And everybody's looking at me like I had 3 heads.
Oh no.
I thought it was funny.
It looks like Tiffany has called in too, so let's bring her on also.
Yay!
Hello, Tiffany.
Hello.
Welcome
Hi.
to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good. So we've been having a discussion about autism as an identity versus autism being a negative ailment. So my question for you is, do you believe that autism is an important, like a positive aspect of your identity, the person you are, or do you view it as an ailment or both?
I think it's both because I have plenty of not so pretty Asperger's moments. I have my meltdowns where I'm in tears and I look like a 3-year-old. But then I have the positive parts where I see things differently and it makes me really creative. It's also the reason why I'm so good at music and so good at writing.
Mhm. And I know that both of you are superbly excellent at music and writing. In fact, when we go to our breaks later, to all of our listeners, you'll get to hear a musical track by both Tiffany and Cindy. So definitely stay tuned for that. So let's go back to autism as a part of your identity. Now, obviously, not everyone agrees with that. There are different organizations out there who are trying to cure, quote unquote, autism. And I wanted to ask you guys about, I know it's called Autism Speaks, right? I think it's Autism Speaks. So could either of you explain to me what Autism Speaks consists of and why their message is more negative than other organizations?
Stigma. I have to just say it because the message they present is so offensive. They treat autism like it takes your children away. They treat it like it's something that's evil and demonized, and you need to cure it. You need to erase it. They want to practice eugenics so that people like me and Tiffany will never be born again. You know, they don't want to eradicate it and just destroy it and just, you know, their message and just. The worst thing about it is they don't have a single autistic person on their staff in any position anywhere. So that'd be like a gay organization with nobody gay. And only 4% of the money that's donated to them actually goes to help families. The rest is all this research stuff. And they promote therapies that are very damaging. I mean, if people Google stuff like the Judge Rottenberg Center, I think it is, you know, there's just, they promote torture treatments like electroshock stuff and ABA therapy, applied behavioral analysis, which basically discourages autistic behaviors to make a child look normal, but it promotes compliance instead of cooperation. The child has to do what the therapist says. And the reason that is so scary and bad for a child is because that is drilled into their head, and that stays until adulthood. And someday, if somebody wants to take advantage of that person, and I mean take advantage like in a sexual way that is very dangerous and damaging too, that they will comply because they were trained to. So if someone says, take off your clothes, they're going to do it because they are so afraid that something very bad will happen if they don't. And, you know, but Autism Speaks tries to pretend like they are just the voice of autism. Autism Speaks, if you're listening, you don't speak for me, I speak for myself.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Autism Speaks. Autism Speaks is not going to shut me up.
No.
Good. Well, and that's another reason why we have you guys on the show tonight, because we feel as though more awareness needs to perpetuate. Because I know earlier in the month, I think April 2nd is the Light It Up Blue Day that Autism Speaks promotes, and Of course, my intentions were good. I wore blue that day to support autism awareness, and I didn't realize until you pointed it out, Cindy, that whole day was created by Autism Speaks. And while, I think most people who participate in that mean very well and want to promote positivity, they don't really realize the history and the context behind the group that created it. In fact, I was just reading that article you sent me earlier, Cindy, and it said that only 4% of Autism Speaks budget goes towards family service. So a lot of the money that they make that they receive in donation does not contribute to the autism community whatsoever.
No, it doesn't, and that's what makes it so bad. Is they promote like they're there to help and to speak for people, but they don't. They're just out for their own freaking agenda, and it's just they're not telling the truth of who they are, and they demonize autism. They make it look like it's something ugly and scary that takes your children away. Okay, yes, I can understand that because I follow the YouTube channel of a mother with a child, or he's an adult, but he's her son, and his name is Jamie, and he is nonverbal. He doesn't speak, and he communicates by injuring himself. He'll punch himself in the face, and that's kind of just how he can communicate because he's not verbal and he doesn't have really any other way to speak. But I've heard her. There was a video somewhere on one of her channels. She has 2 channels, but the one that's the most active is CDF Oakley, CDF and Oakley sunglasses. And someone said that her son was too autistic for their services, and I have a feeling it might have been Autism Speaks. But she fights for him so hard all the time, and she loves him, and she treats him like a human being, even when she has to handle his behavior issues because he has a lot. He has epilepsy, too, so his behavior is very complicated and fragile. Mm-hmm. But I look at him, and I just see his beautiful green eyes, and I just see this lovely human being who deserves to be treated like a human being, just like, me and Tiffany. I mean, if you meet someone with autism, you've met one person with autism. You have not met everybody with autism. Mm-hmm. If you meet someone that's completely blind, you pretty much have an idea of what blindness is like because, everybody, if they're completely blind, they're not going to see light. And then you got some that can see some light, and there's, different versions of blindness. And the same with autism. Tiffany has Asperger's disorder, and I have something called pervasive developmental disorder, not otherwise specified. It's PDD-NOS. Mm-hmm. So it's just,
and those are both a part of that spectrum, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm. But another thing that kind of is an issue to autistic people is functioning labels, high functioning, low functioning, mild, severe. I can have a day where I'm fine, I talk great, and I might 2 hours later be not wanting to talk, and I am slamming my hands on the sides of my head because I cannot stand a tiny little headache. So if you saw me at the beginning of the day, I'd be high functioning. If you saw me at the end of the day and I was doing that, you would say I was low functioning because I'm not talking. It seems to be that if you can talk, you're high functioning, but if you can't, you're not. Function labels are poop. They shouldn't exist.
Mm-hmm. They make assumptions. They make assumptions.
Yeah, you should never assume incompetence when you're speaking to an autistic person, even if they're not speaking back and if they're not looking at you, because eye contact is kind of a aversive thing to us, at least to me. I don't know how it is with Tiffany, but just functioning labels are they're just kind of useless. Because they put us in a box, and we are not puzzle pieces, and we're not in a box. We're people.
Exactly.
Right, Tiffany?
That's right. And eye contact for me is especially uncomfortable because I'm also visually impaired. And one part of my visual impairment is called nystagmus or something, and my eyes roll around, so that makes eye contact even more uncomfortable for me because people think that I might be rolling my eyes at them, or they point out that my eyes are moving, and it's a little embarrassing.
Mm-hmm. Tiffany, have you ever had people try to, like Cindy was talking about, put you in a box based on your Asperger's syndrome and your visual impairment? I feel like people could make a lot of assumptions about you based on those two aspects of your identity.
Yeah, people look at me as weak. They look at me as incapable of taking care of myself or doing certain things. They like to try and like assume what I can and can't handle when I know my limits in certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
There are some things I can handle.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain things I can handle and certain things I just can't.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Oh, it's okay, Brenda. That happens. So when that train re-rails, I guess that's the word, just pipe in, Brenda.
I will.
So I know a lot of autistic individuals face a lot of bullying, and I was wondering if either of you would be willing to share some of your bullying experiences.
Well, for me, I actually wasn't bullied because of my autism. I was bullied because of my visual impairment, because I didn't know about Asperger's until I was almost 16, and even then it took me years to understand what it was. But it definitely made dealing with bullying much more difficult because I didn't know how to handle myself. I didn't know what to do, and I didn't feel like anyone was really on my side at the time, and that's what I needed.
Right.
We have Deb in the chat room, which is Deb DeRoos. She's from Mystical Awakenings. Two things that she wants. She wants to be able to get both of you on the Mystical Awakenings show. So if you would, we would like to get your contact information so that you can be on her show too. Deb is also a mother of, I think, 3 or 4 autistic children. And what she's saying in the chat room is, thank you. I'm in tears because they are the first speakers I have heard that speak in a positive manner about autism. So thank you, ladies. Continue.
Oh, God bless you.
Continue.
And honestly, that's why I love you two so much, is because you own your identity and you try to spread positivity. And, I mean, both of you have empowered me to embrace different aspects of my own identity as well. And I wanted you both to know how much I appreciate you and how much other autistic people out there appreciate you too, because you're standing up for your community, a community that's misinterpreted and misjudged all the time. So I definitely give you both major props, a gold star, if you would say, for being here today with us.
Oh, absolutely. I would hug you if I could.
You already did.
Okay, so Cindy, explain. I know on a past show you've explained some of your bullying experiences. Did you want to explain another bullying experience you may have faced?
Well, part of pervasive developmental disorder is the fact that my body did not physically develop outwardly. I basically have the torso of a 9-year-old boy. The hair is where it's supposed to be, but that's about where it stopped. Internally, everything works. If I wanted to be a mother, I could. Let's just put it that way. Those parts work. But I always look very young, and I'm also very, very skinny, and it's not from a lack of eating. It's just the way my body is. Mm-hmm. But the way I looked and my behavior issues, and you know how people look in high school, they look like they're kind of close to being an adult, whereas I didn't. My face has caught up to my age quite a bit, but not quite there. But in high school, I looked about 12, all 4 years. And I would get bullied about my appearance, how I looked. They'd make fun of my flat chest. They'd make fun of me for being so skinny and so short. And I was called ugly because of the way I looked. And just, people make fun of my eyes because, I have that look that autistic people have. I have that dreamy look, they say. And, you know, I'm proud of it now. I just play it up in my pictures when I take pictures of myself now. I play it up in the selfies because my eyes rock, and so do Tiffany's. So
you both are gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
But it has taken me 17 years to learn to love my body and how I look. It has taken me 17 years to be able to look at myself in the mirror and say, I love you, you are pretty, you look good. And that's what the damage bullying has done. It destroyed myself, my identity in myself and my sense of myself. I had to find it again.
Mm-hmm. That's sad. That's sad that people have to take that stuff away from autistic or anybody. You know, that's crazy.
It is. It's terrible.
So,
you
are
a beautiful person.
Yes. And I
Sorry.
have to say that you're fine. I have to say that with Deb, with watching the interaction between Deb and Carly and the three children that they have, it takes special parents to do that, because Deb's children are actually adopted, and so that takes special people to understand, to try to understand, to want to understand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's just kudos to all parents, no matter if they're foster parents, no matter if they're, you know, blood parents or, you know, adopted parents. Kudos to all of you, and for standing up for their rights. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, you guys are my heroes, all of you, and no one should degrade you for who and what you are, and I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, there's something, you know, very important about autism, you know, especially like I've mentioned before with the nonverbal autistic people, is, you know, you should never assume that they don't understand you, because one of the things Autism Speaks did was it had like this documentary or some kind of a video, some of their propaganda, where a mother was talking about how she wished she could drive off a bridge with her autistic daughter in the car, and the only reason she didn't do it is because of their non-autistic daughter, the allistic, that's an internet term, allistic, or the neurotypical daughter. And she was saying all this while her autistic child was in the room, able to hear her. Now, just because the child does not speak back does not mean they don't understand. They may not understand it now, but maybe when that girl is 15, 16, that might come back to her, and she might realize that her mom basically said, I don't want you. So parents, you know, if you have autistic children who are nonverbal, do not assume that they don't understand you, because there's a good chance they do. And I want you to know that your children, they love you, and they want you to fight for them, not against them.
Okay. With that said, we're going to take a break, and we are going to listen to Tiffany Gray, a song called Angel.
Oh, you heard that?
Yeah.
Oh, that was amazing.
It was amazing.
Thank you.
Tiffany, your voice is beautiful.
So before we get started, since we just finished listening to Tiffany Gray sing, I wanted to advertise her YouTube channel real quick. If you go to the URL bar and type in youtube.com/user, and then type in Tiffany Gray Singer, TIFFANYGRAY, and then the word singer, you'll be able to find her videos. She has such beautiful, beautiful videos, and I just wanted you guys to be aware of those, so definitely go check out her channel. And during the next break, we will introduce one of Cindy's songs, too. So back at you, Brenda.
Back at me. Well, welcome back, guys, to Universal Journeys. This is an awesome discussion, and I just want to put out there real quick about our sponsor. Our sponsor is Mystical Awakenings Radio. Mystical Awakenings Radio has a radio show, Wednesday evenings from 7 to 9. And then we have True Paranormal Fridays from 7 to 9. Okay? So, and it's right here on Mystical Awakenings Radio. Back to you guys.
All right. So we were having a very interesting discussion in the back chat room about the different manifestations of autism. And I was wondering if both of you could explain the different manifestations that crop up throughout the autistic spectrum and different manifestations unique to both of you.
All right. I've been going first so much. Tiffany, you go first.
So you go ahead because you're better at explaining this stuff than I am.
Okay. But, you know, people will kind of call me high functioning because, you know, I can talk, I'm verbal, I'm pretty articulate about 90% of the time. But I also have a lot of the sensory issues that people would associate with the quote-unquote low-functioning people. I'm just using that as an example. I really hate the functioning labels, but I'm using language people are used to, but I hope that they disappear, really. I hope the function labels disappear. But, like, you know, I engage in a lot of a behavior that is called a stimming. You know, it's a slang term for self-stimulation behavior, and I don't mean that in a dirty way, so get your head out of the gutter. But it's just like repetitive, strange little behaviors that, like, calm my nervous system down. You know, it's like you've had a rough day at work and you go home and you take a nice hot shower and you relax. That's what stimming does for me, kind of in a moment-to-moment when I need to do it, I can do it. I've got a whole bunch of different stimming behaviors that I do, and some of them only come out when I'm really happy, and some of them only come out when I'm really upset, and some of them come out when I am just about to have a huge meltdown, and other ones, you know, I just do them just because, you know. It's just like, oh, hey, you know, it's like I'm doing one right now. I'm squeezing my little beanbag toy. I mean, you can hear it, you know, going swish in the background. But I'm just playing with it with my hand, just squishing it and tossing it around. You know, it's helping me to focus my attention on the show. If you discourage someone with autism from stimming, you know, it's basically like taking a partially deaf person's hearing aid away. It affects their behavior, and it changes how they perceive things. Because, you know, like this thing called quiet hands that pisses autistic people off, that's where they stop them from stimming. You know, and like when I get really happy, I flap my hands around up and down in the air, and I kind of slap them together, and it makes kind of a noise. I can't do it. I got the phone in my hand, but you know, it's in some of my YouTube videos. So, you know, once you know what that means, you know, basically that means Cindy is very happy. You know, that's basically what it means, is flapping my hands around. So, and I rock back and forth, you know, kind of the typical thing. I rock back and forth, and I make noises too. You know, I'll be sitting there, and all of a sudden I'll just go like that. I'll pop my lips, and people will look at me, and when they look away, I'll do it again because I just feel like it. I just like to do it, and you know, I know when to do it and when not to. I won't do it in like the middle of like a church or something, but if I'm just outside walking with people, I'll do it. So what? You know, let them look at me funny. I am funny, okay?
And we love you for that.
Yes, we do. So, Tiffany, how about some of do you do any stims, or do you have any manifestations of the autistic spectrum that you express or that you have that may be able to help some of our listeners?
I have some, you know, random little body movements. They're hard to explain, but I can tell you one thing I do when I'm nervous. I usually, if I'm wearing a sweater or if I have my my favorite blanket that feels like a sweater, I'll grab onto it or rub it or hold it really tight, and it does relax me just a little.
Cool. And now, when we were in the chat room, we were discussing some different aspects of autism. And can you explain a little bit of how different things are different to different people. That doesn't come out right. I'm sorry. I'm just babbling here.
That makes sense. So I think what would make this easier to explain would be to compare and contrast the different manifestations of autism that both of you have. Like, I know both of you have sensory differences. So maybe describe for us like the sensory difficulties you both have.
I can do that real easy.
Okay.
One of my biggest sensory thing is hearing, because like I said, I have very acute hearing, so I might hear things that people don't, but at the same time there are certain noise frequencies that will drive me absolutely out of my mind, and it's to a point where I'll be like, stop it. And it's like, my dad used to, when he was able to work and not so disabled by Parkinson's disease, but when he would come home from work, sometimes he would stand in my door and jingle the coins in his pocket and talk to me. And I would be like practically starting to duck under my desk to get away from the sound because that sound hurts my ears. When I say it hurts my ears, I mean it doesn't just like make me jump a little bit. It is like an ice pick going straight through my head into my brain. Mm-hmm. And I know the brain doesn't feel pain, but the meninges do, and that's kind of what it feels like. It's hurting. It just feels like it just feels like the sensation goes into my ear. And it's kind of like when somebody's talking too loud into a microphone and the speaker will crackle as they're talking, it's kind of like this. It gets really distorted sounding, and that's what I hear, and that's why I react with pain, because it hurts. It's very painful. And if it keeps up, I can go into sensory overload, which is not pleasant, because I have a lot of warning signs before I do, but sometimes if something happens and it's really overwhelming, I'll just be boom, and I'll have one of my flip-out meltdown thingies, and those are not fun. And visually, I see colors kind of brighter than what is average. So, like, if you were to give me a pamphlet with, like, neon-colored paper, I would not be able to read it because it's like looking at the sun. It's painful. I don't mind a little neon-colored pencil or shoelaces or something, but if you're wearing a fluorescent-colored shirt, I will probably avoid looking at you because the color literally burns into my eyes. It hurts. It's painful. Mm-hmm. And I don't like light touches either, because if you barely touch me, some people say that tickles, and, I don't mind people tickling my feet, because my feet are very ticklish, and that's in a fun way. But if you touch my skin lightly anywhere else, it feels like a hot butter knife. It burns. I don't like it. And I have to be very careful with the kind of fabrics that I choose, because things like wool, I can only stand it on my feet. If you give me a wool shirt, I will probably never wear it because it will feel like I'm wearing a bunch of fire ants on my skin, and I don't like that. I can handle lace if I wear it for a while and get used to it, and then my body will be like, okay, this is not dangerous. You can wear it. Okay, I'm going to stop freaking out. But I have to be very careful with fabrics, because if something is really itchy, I'll be very distracted and cranky while I'm wearing it, because, sensory things that kind of make me feel cranky. So if I seem like I'm mad for no reason, it's probably because I'm getting overwhelmed and I just need a break. So.
Jonathan did say in the chat room, actually Deb said it for Jonathan. Jonathan wants Tiffany to know that she rocked him to the core with her song.
With your...
Wow. Yeah.
I'm glad we're getting your guys' stuff out there.
Yep. And then Deb in the chat room just posted something. She says, my youngest child had to touch his food with his teeth before he could eat it. This lasted until he was around 4 years old. Do either of them have any insight about this? Is this a sensory issue?
It could be. I personally do not like the sensation of biting into food, so if I have something you would normally bite into, I will break off pieces and put them in my mouth, because it just feels really weird to me, like up in my nose almost. There's nothing wrong with my teeth. It just feels very unpleasant. And you know, it's like when you blow your nose, that feels gross.
Yeah, I was wrong. Actually, he had to touch it with his feet before he could eat it.
Oh, interesting. Well, it could be he's got very sensitive toes, and that could be a way of just kind of understanding his sensory environment. Because, you know, sometimes I feel like I understand an object better if I'm able to, like, pick it up and touch it and fiddle with it a little bit. You know, seeing pictures, that's great. Yeah, okay, I know that's like, okay, that's a piece of ice. I know ice is cold, but I like to really feel that. You know, I like to really touch it and explore textures of things. So I might handle somebody like I am blind and can't see anything, but really I'm just learning about what it is through more than one sense, and that's not a bad thing. That should be encouraged as long as, you know, it's not something that's going to hurt them. You know, don't let them do that to a bee. But if your child wants to put things in their mouth and bite them and stuff like that, and you know they're not going to swallow it, let them. You know, or let them poke things with their feet.
So you're saying that the sensory connection with the feet is probably, it has to do with mostly texture. So it also could be that the child has a stronger textual sense with his, or textural sense, I cannot speak today, with his feet than he does with his hands. But since it's changed, I think Deb said by the time he was 4 years old that changed. Maybe that was just easier for him to do at that point in his life.
Yeah. Excuse me, I'm getting over a cold, so sorry about the cough.
Okay. So, Tiffany, explain to us some of your sensory aspects. Like, are your sensory issues similar to Cindy's, or are they different?
Some of them are a little similar. I also can't stand the sound of jingling. It doesn't really hurt my ears, but if you jingle your keys or you jingle the coins in your pocket, it makes me cringe. It's just that kind of sound that gives me the heebie-jeebies. And there's certain things that I don't like to touch. I don't like to touch coins or, you know, a set of keys because I don't like the way small metal objects feel against my hands. And there's certain clothes that I don't like to wear. I don't like to wear pants or jeans. I like to wear skirts instead. And I don't like wearing buttons and zippers because they're also very uncomfortable. And the eating, I usually don't have a problem with biting down, but there are certain foods I don't like because of the texture.
What kind of foods?
Zach.
The autistic kid was used to.
Well,
Tiffany, are you good?
I can say that Deb in the chat room says he still feels things with his feet, but doesn't have to do his food to eat it anymore. Although he hates most foods.
Well, like what Tiffany was just saying, I think that probably has a lot to do with texture. Tiffany, what kind of foods based on texture do you not like to eat?
There's certain vegetables that just feel weird in my mouth, and it's not really easy to explain, but I don't really like Brussels sprouts because of texture. And I don't like certain chalky foods, and I also don't like whipped cream because of the foamy texture.
Makes sense. Like my father doesn't like peaches because of the fuzz.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love peaches.
Yeah, it just drives him crazy. I mean, he just doesn't like it. I mean, if it's peeled or if they can get the fuzz off of it, he's fine. But when it's the fuzzy, no, he can't deal with that.
Yeah.
I am I'm pretty much an adventurous eater. I will try pretty much everything once, but I do have some food aversions, really. I can't digest spicy food. It just goes right through me, and it's not pleasant, and I just don't like to deal with the pain of it. And plus the spice in my mouth. I can't stand it. I can't deal with that. And another thing I can't stand is just on principle is organ meats, liver, heart, gizzard, stuff like that. I only eat hot dogs because they don't look like what they were before, but that's the only one. But, anything else, I'll try it at least once, and then I'll decide whether I don't like it. But a texture I think I really can say I don't like is when there's marshmallow in the middle of something, because then it's just like this spongy, squishy stuff, and it's like, oh, really? Come on. But other than that, I love to taste things. So, I love tasting food and stuff like that. Eating is like a really fun sensory experience for me. So my favorite dish on the planet and in the universe is seafood Alfredo, and I just had a huge bowl of it for lunch today, and I had some for dinner last night, and when I'm eating food, I just sit there and it's just like heavenly, because it's like either it's a new experience or I'm revisiting one that I find very pleasant, and it's just a lot of fun.
I also love the shrimp and Alfredo. That's probably one of my favorite foods. And I also like to try different foods, and then I'll decide if I like them or not. And I do love to eat.
Me too. You can't tell with me, but I love to eat. When I go to parties, like my choir will have parties, and when I go there, I usually hang around the food, because, that's kind of where people gravitate to anyway, but it's like if I feel like I want to nibble something, I can. So, but that's generally where you find me, is the food.
Yeah. You can definitely tell with me that I like to eat.
But you're cute. Everybody's cute.
Deb in the chat room says that my boys are opposite. Skylar can't eat things like Jell-O or anything mushy. Stephen can't eat anything with too much texture or too crunchy. What do you guys think about that?
I don't like Jell-O.
I can kind of take or leave Jell-O. I don't think it's that gross, but I haven't had it in a long time, so I can't really say for sure. But, sometimes I will crave something crunchy like potato chips because I want it crunchy, not because I want something salty, but, that's fine. But when I was little, I would gag on the junior foods, and I think it's because they felt really slimy to me in my mouth. So when I was really little, I would spit it out and gag and stuff, and I think it was just reacting to the feeling of it in my mouth. And, even now, if a food is slimy, I have to tell myself, okay, just taste it first, and maybe the taste will overpower the texture. And 90% of the time, it does. And other times it's like, okay, I just can't. Now I'll just take the napkin and very casually wipe it off my tongue and pretend I didn't even taste it. So
I remember when I was a little kid, I had an aversion to crunchy foods because the texture hurt my mouth. It doesn't do that to me anymore, but I would always freak out everyone at school because when I would eat cereal, I would let it soak in the milk so it would be soft, because I thought it was easier to eat and it didn't hurt me to eat it that way. And sometimes I still like to do that.
I tell you what,
depends on the cereal.
Yeah, the two things that I don't like is spinach. Number one, cooked spinach, because that's gross. And then, but the other one is okra. Okra to me is so slimy, it's gross. Ah.
Yeah, okra does have a very weird texture, doesn't it?
It kind of does, but I thought it was all right.
I definitely don't like spinach either. It feels like I'm eating these bugs.
Yeah. It's like, ew. To me, it's like eating worms a little bit, without the crunchiness inside. That's what it feels like to me.
I totally love spinach. I could eat spinach till the cows come home.
Oh, me too. Oh my God.
Spinach. If you get raw spinach in the least, I could do that, but not cooked spinach. That's gross stuff. And asparagus too.
Oh, I love asparagus.
I do like asparagus, but you have to cut those weird edges off because I don't like the texture. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I do like asparagus.
I know a lot of people don't like the stringiness of it because the texture is almost mucusy feeling to me, depending on how it's cooked.
Excuse me.
I don't like the way it tastes. Well, with me, celery can be kind of annoying. Celery, because that can break up into strings, and then it gets halfway in your throat, and it's like feel like a cat with a hairball.
Mm-hmm. I don't really care for celery just because it's kind of a boring taste.
Put peanut butter on it. Trust me. If you're not allergic to peanut butter, put peanut butter on your celery, and cut up into bite-sized pieces and chow down on that. Oh yeah.
Making my mouth water.
That's good.
I know. I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, Deb, we're going to change it up a little bit. Deb in the chat room says Skylar couldn't eat baby food either when he was younger. And then she says, "Oh, Donnie, I used to love asparagus. Now
now you'll think of mucus." I'm sorry, Deb. I did not mean to traumatize you to asparagus.
Oh, that's too funny.
Well, Brenda, if I'm looking at the time correctly, I think we're about due for our second break.
We are. In this next break, we are going to introduce Cindy. Her song is Iridescent, isn't it not?
Yes, it's the cover of the Linkin Park song.
Okay, so
but I want you to know.
Go ahead.
I'm not playing the piano on that. That was downloaded for me to sing to. I'm just singing. That's all I'm doing. I don't play the piano. I just don't want people to think that.
That was the same with Tiffany's too.
Yeah, I use karaoke tracks.
Yep. Okay, so here we go. Here's Cindy, Iridescent.
Oh, I love that last note.
That was not in effect. That was my breath, just a decrescendo. That's what it was.
You guys are both amazing. I just wanted to express that. You guys are amazing.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so before we get on to the subjects we want to discuss for the second half of the show, I wanted to do a little advertisement for Cindy's YouTube channel. If you go to the URL bar and you type in youtube.com/user, and type in StreamofAwareness, StreamofAwareness, you will find Cindy's YouTube channel. She does a lot of music videos where she's singing, and she also does some videos where she's demonstrating the different experiences that she has as an autistic individual. So a lot of very interesting things. Both of you have very interesting content on your channel, so I encourage everyone to check it out. Back at you, Brenda.
And all I can say is kudos. We love you. We love having you on the show. Obviously Deb does too, because she says breathtaking to Cindy, and these girls keep making me cry. Okay.
Aww.
So, and that's a heartfelt love coming out in. It's just, because both of you have done such an amazing job with overcoming some of the stigma that's been placed on all of you out there with autism, and it's I don't want to say inhumane, but I'm going to say that inhumane of the way people treat you, and you're just like the rest of us. You're human beings. Okay, you need to be respected because you can do so much, and you've proven I got goosebumps. Both of you have proven this with your song.
Definitely.
Okay, and overcoming, and it's like, look, hey, we're people too. You need to respect us as well.
Mhm.
And it's just, that's not exactly what you, Donnie, were thinking I was going to do, but hey, that's it. You got it.
No, actually, I love that you mentioned that because I wanted to say something similar. I think people need to listen to autistic people. I think people need to take a moment to sit down and listen to what they have to say, or listen or visualize what they want to express, because we can learn so much from them. I want to share a couple of experiences about both Cindy and Tiffany that have definitely changed my life. Cindy, I met you like several years ago, and I honestly I would not be here today if it wasn't you talking me through my identity when I first came out, because I mean, you remember when I first came out as gay, I was very, very suicidal and very depressed, and you were really the only friend I had back then to talk to about those things, and you encouraged my love of writing too, and honestly, you're largely responsible for the reason why I wanted to pursue English, because of your exceptional writing skills. And Tiffany, I met you a few years ago also, and ever since I've met you, I have felt more empowered to express myself through singing, because you do it so freely. Both of you do it so freely, and you both inspire me in that way. And I feel as though around both of you I can be myself. And I think that's the unique quality of autistic individuals like both of you, because you're honest, you're forthright, you aren't deceptive, you are pure, and you're upfront with your emotions, and I find that so incredibly refreshing, because every day, I feel like every day I am dealing with people who aren't necessarily always upfront with how they feel, and we're always told to feel in specific ways. And around both of you, I don't feel that I have to do that. I can be me, and that's what I find to be very empowering. And that's one of the zillion reasons why I love you both.
I feel the same way about you, Donnie, because for me, being autistic, it's hard for me to find people that accept me the way I am, and even if they don't really understand my Asperger's, it's at least nice to be able to be around people that at least accept me and don't try to change me. It's just so hard to find those people, and I'm so lucky that I found you and Cindy. Because so many times people have told me, "Oh, I'll always be there for you," and then I have one of my not so pretty Asperger's moments, and they run for the hills. And you've seen me at my worst, and you're still here.
That really means a lot, and I will always be here.
Yeah, Donnie, that's so sweet to hear, because, I echo what Tiffany says, and the fact that I feel like, I can be myself, and, I can have my quirks. And I remember that I used to, be sorry about it when we would talk on the phone, and now I don't apologize for it if I get stuck on a word or something, and we just laugh about it. And But I still remember that time that when I had very recently lost my dog, Bernie, and I was crying and I could not stop. It was a meltdown situation, but I didn't really recognize what it was until, I look back on it. But I just could not stop crying, because that's one of the ways it can manifest, as a crying fit that won't stop, just as much as it can be like an angry rage. But you calmed me down, and you just let me talk, and you listened to me, and you heard me. You weren't trying to fix it. You just told me it was okay, and I just needed to hear that it was okay to feel like that. And whenever people tell me my emotions are valid, it affects me, because I'm so used to having my feelings invalidated. And you're one of the few people who don't do that to me, and that means the universe to me. I think you're one of God's best gifts to me.
Oh, you're going to make me cry.
Oh.
I'm Catholic, so, I'm very open about the fact that I'm Catholic, so.
I honestly, I don't know what I would do without all three of you in my life. I would be insane.
And when I was going through that bad relationship that I was in for a couple of years, and my fiance at the time, he was constantly putting me through pain and making me cry. I didn't really like to talk about it with a lot of people, because they didn't understand. They didn't they would be like, oh, you need to just dump him. And it's something I had to learn for myself because, when I fall in love, I fall hard. And I'm the kind of person that likes to be sure that I'm making the right choice before I decide to end a relationship or let go of someone. I want to be sure that I'm making the right choice. And you understood that, and you were very patient.
Oh, thank you. That really means a lot to me. Brenda, I also want to, I loved you, and I wanted to express my appreciation for you for giving us this opportunity to talk about these things on the show, because I think these are very important subjects that need to be heard, and unfortunately, they're unheard. Like, autistic issues are so unheard, and people ignore it based on all of the stigmas. And I think it's time that ends, and I think we're making a very good step here by doing that.
I do too. And you're most welcome, Donnie, and I love you very much as well. And for me, it's more, it wasn't about me, it was about you, and it's about what you stood up for and how you help different people with bullying and gay activism and autism and everything else. It's like I saw something in you that I don't see in many people, and that is an unconditional love. And it's like, how can you be so unconditionally loving when, I look at myself and there are certain aspects I can be, but there's certain aspects that I'm not. So I'm learning from all of you, okay? And I can tell you right now, the one person who made a huge impact on me with unconditional love is Deb DeRusse. That woman can, I don't know how she does it, but she totally loves unconditionally anyone and everyone. When I've doubted people, when it's like, oh, no, that's bad, she's always had something to come back on or come back with, and seeing the other aspect. That's something that I don't possess yet. I'm getting there through time. It will happen.
But I think you need to give yourself more credit, because I feel like you do have that, definitely.
Thank you. I'm in tears. I was like, okay, I can't. I can't talk too much English. Sorry.
And Deb, we totally love you, and we really, really appreciate you letting us be on Mystical Awakenings, because honestly, I feel like this show has been a very life-changing experience, and it's an amazing outlet. It allows. This is one thing that this has that YouTube doesn't, is that I can vocally talk to other people like we're doing right now. And on YouTube, I'm just talking to a camera. Here, I get to actually open up a level of discourse with other people, and I think exactly, and I think that's what makes this so beautiful, is because we can invite people on here, like both Cindy and Tiffany, to share their experiences, and what you were talking about, Brenda, about us learning from each other and growing from each other. This is what we're doing right now. This is what we're doing right now, and I think that's contagious.
Yes, and the thing is if you look at any situation or any individual, we are all here to learn from one another, and if we can look at it that way instead of, oh, I'm empowered this, or I'm this, that, whatever. But if we can look at things as if we're learning from one another, we'd be much better off.
I agree.
I
completely
much
agree.
Better off.
Amen.
And the thing is, too, is if you don't understand something up there, guys, ask.
Absolutely.
Learn, listen, ask. Because without asking, it's just a fear. And your fear is unfounded.
You just reminded me of a quote from the cartoon Gargoyles back in the 1990s. That show was a huge part of my life back in the 1990s. But the lead gargoyle, Goliath, he had a great line. He said, "It is the nature of humankind to fear what they do not understand. and what they do not understand and what scares them, they often seek to destroy.
Yes, very much so.
So if you take away the fear, you don't want to destroy it anymore. You know, so shed light on it, learn, just like she said.
Yep. Now, with that said,
oh wow.
Okay. With that said, when we were in the back room, I'm going to call it the back room, off stage.
It sounds so shady.
We were backstage this last time. We talked about sensitivities. And Donnie was trying to articulate something, and he lost his train of thought. He derailed, as he called it. And for me, I brought up the fact that we're all sensitive, all four of us right here, right now. We're all connecting with one another, okay? And the fact that Donnie derailed, as I had derailed, is because we're so sensitive, we're tuning into the girls. And there are certain aspects about the girls that they didn't know what to really say. And so, you know, we lose our train of thought because of you know, not knowing what to say. Okay, and for me also, I don't want to be disrespectful or anything, and I don't have a hands-on. I mean, I don't have anybody in my life with hands-on experience that I do just exactly what I'm doing right now.
Story of my life.
And yeah, so the sensitivity. I get the sensitivity. I mean, it is. And what I mentioned too is, and again, I said this there, is like I don't like to call people normal people, but when we have sensitive people like us here, and then you have normal people who don't sense that, they don't understand. You know, and if they could just, you know, understand the sensitivities that we possess, and especially you girls, you possess, because it's much more heightened awareness than ours is. Okay, if we could just understand that aspect, I think we would be further ahead.
And I think people would have a greater understanding of autistic people too. Definitely.
Yeah, losing your train of thought, that's excuse me, that's the story of my life, you know. Sorry, I'm trying to eat dinner while I'm talking. But I kind of view socialization is going to a play you know nothing about, and one of the actors just pulls you up on the stage all of a sudden, and you don't know what your role is, you don't know what you're supposed to say, and everybody's kind of wearing masks, so you can't really read their facial expressions. You can just see their faces, and their eyes have neon contact lenses in them that are lit up by like a black light overhead, so it's really intense to look into their eyes. So you don't want to, because it's too intense, because they can read everything out of you, but you can't read everything out of them. So, you know, it feels like having your insides sucked out through your eyeballs. So, and then you have to try to figure out, okay, what's my role? Where do I stand? What do I say? What are we doing? And, you know, you just got to kind of fumble through and hope you say the right things and don't stand out too much. Although it's not a bad thing to stand out, but in some situations it kind of could be, because, you know, like in church, you don't want to start walking around the aisles yelling and screaming, right?
Right.
But socialization, I'm kind of social blind, I like to call it, because, you know, I don't see social cues very easily. Like with a conversation, I may not know if someone has paused and they're going to continue a thought or if they're really done. I told Donnie about this on the phone earlier. So, you know, I may not speak and then they move on, and then I feel like, well, now I can't say it because I'm just going to drag the conversation back, and it gets awkward. And other times they'll start to talk and the other person will start to talk, and it's like, oops.
I'm sure even problem.
I was going to say, I'm sure Tiffany can speak up about that too.
Tiffany, have you had any like distinct experiences where you have been in a social situation and you've had a difficult time picking up on the different social cues?
I have a hard time telling when someone is joking sometimes. When their joke sounds serious, I take it seriously, I take it to heart, and then they get irritated with me. They're like, gosh, I'm just joking. I'm like, gosh, can't you just take a joke? And I'm like, I can't help that. I have Asperger's, and I can't tell when you're joking. And also, being visually impaired, I can't see their facial expression. So I can't always tell unless they say, just kidding, right afterwards.
Right.
So, Tiffany, you basically have to go on the energies then and the sound of their voices and stuff.
Yes, I go by tone of voice.
Yep.
Me too. Even though I don't have any problem seeing, I rely a lot on, someone's tone of voice. And I can't really read facial expressions, but I can it's weird because I can kind of figure out what someone's face means if they're in a movie because I know the whole context of the situation. So I can kind of put it all together. But if it's just someone I just met face-to-face, I may not know what their frown means. Even if they're frowning, they may just frown because they're confused, or they might frown because they don't like what I'm saying. But I don't know that right away. I have to know someone to really start to pick up on, what their little quirks are. So.
Yeah, definitely. And I know a lot of the time, I'm sure you both receive a lot or have received a lot of criticism from people socially about different social misinterpretations. And I guess my question is, did people, were you guys bullied for that when you were in school? Did misinterpreting people's intentions get you bullied by any chance?
I think it did because I was often the butt of a lot of the drama in some of my classes with the other kids because maybe I misunderstood what they were trying to say to me, or I took what they said the wrong way, or I felt all this pressure from them. Maybe they were already picking on me, and then I was getting upset, and it made everything worse. So it definitely was a contributing factor to bullying.
Yep, I had that happen, but it was kind of a different way because people would trick me. They would come up to me and act all nice, and I would think, oh, maybe they're not going to be mean anymore, and then they would just start into their stuff. And something I like to illustrate is, if someone says something like, oh, my God, you're ugly. Oh, come on, don't take it like that. I'm just kidding. That's still hurtful, and that's still bullying in a way because, even though you frame it as a joke, you're still putting a jab out there, and it's kind of rude. It's one thing if you're two friends and that's just how you talk to each other. I mean, Donnie and me on the phone, we say horrible things to each other, but we know we're kidding and we laugh. But I wouldn't talk like that to my mom or my dad or to my choir director at church. You have to know the person to know what's okay. And if someone says, I don't like jokes like that, respect it. Don't make those jokes to them. Make it to your other friends that like it. But if someone doesn't like it, don't call them a killjoy. Okay, maybe it hurts them. Maybe they have scars.
I mean, if someone's in that position and they don't understand why someone doesn't like a joke, ask why. People are so terrified of asking questions and trying to understand. If I ever said anything offensive, I would always hope that someone would point that out to me. That way, I have a different understanding of that specific social situation. And heaven forbid, I know I'm super duper blunt, and I'm always saying everything. So I always encourage people to be hey, if something sounded offensive, say it. Explain it to me and help me understand. I think if people did that more, there would be a larger understanding of autistic people because, like we were talking about, they're always misinterpreted so much.
Yeah.
Oh, you go.
Okay. Well, yeah, like what you were saying about certain jokes. My granddad and I tease each other relentlessly and call each other crazy names and insult each other, but I wouldn't talk like that to everyone. That there's certain people that maybe wouldn't like this kind of jokes, but he and I have our own kind of joke language,
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there are some jokes that do still hurt me, even if they're just jokes. Maybe they trigger, a bad memory, or they, that they hit a sensitive spot, something that I'm very sensitive about or insecure about. And it also makes me feel very ashamed of myself when I take that joke the wrong way, or that I get upset about that joke and I tell them, that's not funny, I don't like that. And then they get irritated and I feel ashamed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not your problem, it's theirs, because they're the one that's not understanding the fact that something hurts, you stop doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And one thing that the autism has taught me, and my experience has taught me, is think before you speak as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Many people don't know how to do that. They just speak.
Mhm. Exactly.
I had that
That's
problem
a
as
shame.
a teenager.
Mhm.
So did I.
I think we all had that problem when we were teenagers. I'm just saying.
Teenagers are
definitely
not
agree.
fun for any of us.
I agree. Well, Brenda, dear, it looks like we're coming up on our final break.
We are, and we are going to be listening to Rascal Flatts, Bless the Broken Road. I just downloaded that one to hear. And so it's about 3 minutes and 23 seconds. So here we go. We'll be right back after the break.
Hello, we're back.
Welcome back, everyone.
I think we lost Donnie.
Welcome back, everyone. So before we get started on our last half an hour of the show, I wanted to do a couple more advertisements. If you love Universal Journeys and you enjoy listening to us, please feel free to go to Facebook and visit our Facebook page. If you go into the URL bar and you type in facebook.com, just put in /Universal Journeys 111, or if you're already on Facebook and you just type in Universal Journeys in the search bar, you'll see a page with a beautiful picture of Brenda. So, feel free to like our page, and me as well. Feel free to like our page because we post a lot of uplifting things, and we have a very, very intriguing discussions. And also, I have my own YouTube channel that you guys are more than welcome to check out. If you go to the URL bar and type in youtube.com/DonnieWinter, you will find my channel. I do a lot of videos about LGBTQ rights, anti-bullying advocacy. I do videos about being an ally to the autistic community, and videos about random geeky things. So, feel free to subscribe to my channel. Back at you, Brenda. I think.
And
you, Brenda.
Thank you, and I have to say, thank you everyone for coming to the Universal Journey show radio show, because this is something that's a passion of mine, and Universal Journeys is just that, is Universal Journeys, all things, all natures. No one is excluded, okay? Because this is a universal journey that we are on. And with that said, Deb says in the chat room, Donnie, your picture is beautiful too. And it is. It's got an awesome picture. Good.
Oh, Deb, you're making me blush. Okay, so there are so many children out there, children, teenagers, in fact, anyone can experiences this. People out there are getting bullied. They're being bullied because of their identity, because of their difference, and unfortunately, a lot of autistic children have to face this bullying. So, if my question for Cindy and Tiffany is, if you could have a conversation with a young autistic person who's being bullied, what would you tell them? And also, if you could have a conversation with their parents, what would you tell them?
Well, for me, I would tell them about my experiences, and I would tell them that no matter what these bullies say, if they say you're worthless or nobody cares about you, it's all a lie. They do love you, and you are loved, and that's what I needed to hear when I was being bullied. And I would tell their parents, you need to make sure your child knows that you love them and that they can come to you and talk to you about anything, and just give them a shoulder to cry on and tell them that everything will be okay, and and that no matter what the bullies say, they are special and they are beautiful.
Beautiful. I love that.
Well, I'm just going to read something here because, it's something I would say, but this is especially for, people on the autism spectrum who are, getting this and being made to feel like they don't belong in this world when they do. You matter. Your opinions matter. Your feelings matter. Your thoughts matter. Your dreams matter. Your life matters. You are special. You are beautiful. You are talented. You are valuable. You are wonderful. You are respected. You are cared about. You are strong. You are a good person. You are loved. You can succeed. You can reach out. You can hold on. You can overcome. You mean something. You have worth. You deserve to live, and I love you. And that's my affirmations for bullying victims message.
Oh my gosh, you almost made me cry. You almost made me cry.
I got a little bit emotional reading it because I want you people that are dealing with bullied, whether you're autistic or not, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. These people are just attacking your insecurities because they want to cover up their own. They can't deal with their problems, so they want to cause you a problem. It's not your fault.
No. And I did feel like it was my fault back then. I felt like I did something to deserve to be bullied.
And to parents, I would say, do not ever, ever, ever invalidate your child's feelings, and do not ever ask them, my own dad did this to me. What did you do to make these kids start teasing you and making fun of you and bullying you? What did you do? I wanted to say I exist because that's what I did for it to happen, is I existed. Never say that to your child, no matter how frustrated you are. Never say that to your child because it is not their fault. Nobody deserves to be treated like that. Decent human beings don't go around making people feel like they want to kill themselves, all right? That's the thing.
That was powerful.
Yes.
Cindy, I think when you created affirmations for bullying victims, it was such a wonderful thing to create, and I know both Tiffany and I are honored, and Brenda too, because you participated back in October. We're all honored to be a part of it because we want to use it as a means to spread awareness, to, instead of punishing the bully, help uplift and encourage the bully victim or survivor.
Exactly.
And a lot of people, whenever I am talking to someone or someone asks me about bullying, I always tell them, when they ask me, how do I overcome bullying? What do I do? I feel so alone. I always tell them, surround yourself with people who support you. And honestly, I managed to just get out of high school, and I had a few supporting friends. But when I entered college, I had more power over managing the people in my life, and I tried to bring in people who helped support me, who helped uplift me, and I think that's what Affirmations for Bullying Victims is all about. It is creating a community of people, of bullying survivors, who helps uplift those who may still be going through the experience or suffering from the trauma due to it. And if you guys are ever on Facebook and you want to visit the Affirmations for Bullying Facebook page, just type in the search bar affirmations for bullying victims, and you should be able to find it. It's definitely a great resource.
Yes, yes,
and there is a printable page. Can I just plug an address real quick?
Of course, sure.
It's the printable page for this is, you go to your URL bar and you type in tiny, the word tiny, .cc/AFBV, and it will take you to a printable page. It'll redirect you to Weebly, but I just have it there so if I move, I don't have to change the address 50 million times. But it's just a basic printable page. There's no bells and whistles, but you can print it so you can keep it in your locker, in your folder. You can pass it around to people in real life so that it's not just on the screen. It's also, in people's faces, because that's what I want to do. I want to just shove it at people and be like, read this. Okay, I know you're going through something, but read this. I want you to know I love you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Speaking of love, Deb in the chat room says, Tiffany and Cindy are special and beautiful. They have melted my heart. At the same time, they have made my heart sing. And they also, when you were talking about the things to tell other autistic children and their parents, she put OMG, and it's a smiley face, but it's crying. It's like the truth is there, So, thank you.
I also have some advice for the people who are doing the bullying, and it's not mean advice, but it's good advice. I would say if you anyone out there who is bullying someone, you really need to stop doing it. You need to figure out why are you so intimidated by this person. You need to figure out what's making you so insecure about them, and instead of bullying them, why don't you just try and become friends with them and just open your heart and just be a good person. Honestly, it's not that hard to be a good person and to just love people. Just show the love in your heart because you have it. Mm-hmm. So just be a good person.
Definitely, I completely agree.
I've got to the point now.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
So maybe Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I've gotten to the point now where I've forgiven the bullies.
And that's kind of what I was going as. Maybe they need affirmations too that people love them, and that's why they have to bully, because they don't feel no one loves them, so they have to make it somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Negative attention is just as good as positive attention, they feel, or some feel.
And see, that's the beauty of affirmations for bullying victims. The affirmations can apply to everyone.
Yeah.
Because I'm willing to bet everyone has felt one of these emotions. Everyone has felt as though they haven't mattered, that they would fail, that they wouldn't be able to overcome. Everyone has felt some semblance of these emotions. And the whole purpose of this is to remind people that emotion doesn't completely derail their life,
Mm-hmm.
True.
And you're right. We need to get this information out here, and that was one of the reasons why, we're here. We're doing this, and this needs to get out. I don't know how many other Blog Talk Radio programs actually do anything about this. I've not researched it. All I know is if we're the first, let's continue to do this. Let's get this information out there so people understand and they're not so afraid.
Definitely.
Exactly.
And the difficult thing is, so many organizations like Autism Speaks are always trying to extinguish the voices of autistic people. I think, like I was saying earlier, that everyone needs to just be quiet and listen to autistic people, because they will learn a lot more from them than they realize. And I think once they do make that effort to listen, they'll come to a whole new understanding, and then that'll lead to acceptance.
And if you do want to donate to an autism organization that is more legit and, you know, decent towards the autistic people that it's supposed to be helping, I really suggest the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network, ASAN. They have autistic people on staff, so when they're talking about things, they know what they're saying. They're not just speculating. They actually know. They understand the sensory issues and the social things. They get it because they're autistic too. So, you know, they have autistic people running it and stuff like that. So they're pretty good.
Hey, girls, I want to throw something out there to you, okay? Would you guys be interested in doing a show, either a weekly show or a monthly show on autism and bullying?
That would be great.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Because Deb just put that in the chat room, and I was thinking the same thing. We can set you up, and you can talk to Deb about this, because this would be a way also through Mystical Awakenings, because this is part of that is an awareness that we could actually do this for you guys. We could set this up and let you go, let you get that information out there, let you do what you guys do.
It sounds kind of intimidating at first. It sounds kind of intimidating, but cool.
It's intimidating, but remember, you have people here to help you. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And people who understand.
I know. That's why I'm saying it. I'm like smiling. You can't see me, but I'm like, oh yeah, bring it on.
I feel it.
See, I know how much of a difference both of you have made, not only in my life, but in other people's lives through YouTube. And being able to do a show of your own would be an excellent opportunity to be the voice of the autistic community.
Absolutely. You're already starting it.
Exactly. Opening up a conversation. The whole issue is that there is no conversation. There is very little representation. You guys would be changing that, definitely. I mean, just think on it. I mean, you don't have to make a decision just yet, but think on it.
Right.
I think that would be so awesome.
It would.
I mean, because you got your YouTube channels out there too, okay? And those are awesome as well. But this would give you another chance, just like Donnie and I are doing right now, of getting this information out and chatting, having people call in and all the rest of that stuff, instead of being, like Donnie said, in front of just this YouTube, this camera. This is a way to interact and get it out there. And Deb says too is like you can use all of your own music on the shows too.
Wow. Exactly.
Oh gosh.
And I mean, if you want, I would be happy to help. I mean, I would go on there and help you guys with it too. I mean, you have support, definitely.
Yeah.
I would definitely need you there with me at first.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I would be honored.
You know, girls, you could do it together even. That way, you know, you could get together. And Donnie, Deb says Donnie read my mind. So it isn't so intimidating because you guys can have, you know, be on the same show and you know, because you both bring a different dynamic into the show itself. Okay? And that's what we need. We need more understanding. We need to know differences and stuff like that. And
yes,
you know,
that's very true.
Yeah. And Deb's crying again.
Oh.
You're gonna dehydrate, honey.
I was gonna say, honey, you need a glass of water.
I saw the raindrop. Well, you know, and this is very dear and near to Deb's heart, so that's why she's crying so much. And by helping you guys do this and launch this, you know, this gives her hope with her own children and other children just like this.
Yeah, and
a huge glass of water.
But you know, even the people who are autistic that are not verbal, that don't speak, there are other ways they can learn to speak. They can use like augmentative and alternative communication. They can use an iPad with icons they can touch and it will talk. I don't know exactly how it works because I don't need to use that technology, but just look it up, AAC, and don't use the Autism Speaks links. Don't use them. Just go to other things like try ASAN and then type that in and with Google or Yahoo and just see what comes up, because you can give these people voices of their own, even though they can't use like their vocal cords to speak or they just can't articulate words. But if they can still get their thought out there, I mean, just look up Carly Fleischman. I can't think of how to spell her name, but if you type in YouTube Carly F, it should like spell it out for you, and just type in and just see her story, because she types and her computer will talk. But at first it seemed like there was no way to reach her, but really she could understand and she could talk just fine through typing. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm more articulate typing than I am speaking. This is a subject I'm good at, so I'm really good, but talk about politics and I'll be like, So, but that's another autism thing too.
Well, and the thing is that's just not autism. This thing, it's also us, because there are certain things that I can't talk about. They're like, you're talking Greek to me there, dude, or do that. But so it's just not autistic. It's all of us. All of us have those things. And if we can't say that we do, shame on you. Because everyone has that. Everyone.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Really true.
And by you guys putting this information out there about the different aspects, about just because we have autistic children and individuals who can't speak, that you just brought this out. There is a way to communicate.
Mhm.
There is a way. We need to know that. Everyone needs to know that.
And you can even probably teach them to sign. It may take them a while to process and learn it, but you can teach. Some of them might be able to speak with sign language too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not just for deaf people; it's for people who can't speak for whatever reason.
And another thing is that they often communicate through their own creativity.
Mhm. And behavior is also communication in autism too. It may be a very negative behavior, like your kid starts pulling on his shirt while he's slapping his head because maybe he doesn't like the shirt. Take it off him. Give him a different shirt. See if that changes the behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than restraining them.
Right. Speaking of that, of the shirt thing and not being able to wear it and stuff like that, for me, I'm very sensitive to clothing, okay, with other things. But if someone else has worn a shirt, I pick up on that individual's energy, and I take on their persona. So I have to be very careful myself with that. Can you imagine going out and buying clothes from a rummage sale to have your child who is autistic wear it? They're getting double slammed because, number one, they may not like the texture of that shirt. Okay. Number two might be the energies that drive them crazy. And then you get upset at them and say, nah, there's nothing there. My foot.
Because I never thought of that, actually.
Yeah.
That's cool. I never thought of that.
And it's just, and then my behavior changes because of the energy from the individual prior to that.
Mhm. I'm the exact same way.
Also, I want to just make a quick little aside about stimming, is that everybody does it. If you jiggle your foot or you wiggle your pencil in your fingers, that's a stim behavior. It's just autistic people, we need it more, and we need to do it more, and it should never be discouraged. And, unless it's noisy or it's very disruptive, then redirect it. Give them something quiet they can do. Teach them how to do something with their fingers, or give them a fidget toy that's quiet. Like I have these little handheld bean bags that I play with. I have one at church that I play with, so that I don't want to jiggle around and fidget and just like make a spectacle of myself. And I'm just saying that on my behalf. I'm not saying that anybody else is a spectacle. I'm just me. It's just me, myself, and I.
Yes.
I don't want to be a distraction from the priest, you know.
Yeah, I usually like to have something soft to touch, like maybe my, one of my favorite sweaters, because I love sweaters because they're soft, or something that feels like a sweater, and it's something that I can touch whether I'm nervous or I'm excited or just thinking.
It's a stimulatory action.
Yeah, it regulates the nervous system. That's what I like to call it. It's like idling, when your computer is idling, when it's doing something, and you see the little circle or the little hourglass. It's kind of like me doing that. I'm like do 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 do. Jeopardy music.
Yeah, Deb has a question in the chat room for both you girls, and she says, "How do I get Steve to stop hitting other children at school? They keep kicking him out."
Oh, God, I had this problem a lot when I was younger. When I was little, I did not understand consequences to actions, and I was just fascinated by the different way kids would react when I would take their toys away or slap them or hit them, and nobody would explain to me why it was bad. So, you need to get to your child and say, don't hit. It makes people feel bad. And when it makes people feel bad, you should feel bad when you make someone feel bad. You don't want to make people feel bad. Explain the consequence of what he's doing, and then if he continues, then you punish. Because, I just thought these adults were all so mean because they were always putting me in the corner or making me stand outside, and I didn't understand why. Until someone would explain it to me. And then it was like, oh, wow, I wouldn't like if someone hit me. Okay, maybe I shouldn't hit people anymore. It's social blindness, that's the thing.
And Deb says, he's almost 8, and then after you explain a little bit more, she says, LOL, perfect, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
So, I mean, it's just because I don't think Deb, I'm speaking for Deb, I don't think Deb had an outlet here to be able to talk to someone who is autistic to the way that we can talk to you right now and to help her with her children. And with that said, girls, thank you very much for being on the show. We definitely appreciated it. We are going to get you in the chat room with the 5 of us because Deb's going to come in too. And I want to thank everyone who participated today in the Universal Journey. And always remember, follow your heart, for only you know which path is right for you. Thank you, everybody. Next week's show is Anything Goes. Have a great day. Have a great evening. Have a great week, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.